this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my reaction to the AP Top 25 in college football for Week 7. I have a few disagreements, but I think they got the right 25 teams in there. I do think that. A little bit of a debate between two of the teams, but I will probably roll with the I'll roll with that team. I'll get to that when I get to it. But anyways, let's start off with number 1. Alabama is number 1 with a 6-0 record. And by the way, the top 4 is the same. I have a disagreement with the top 4. Alabama number 1. I agree with that. They get the road win against Arkansas, 65-31. My question for Alabama as they go up against Missouri at home next week is how many points are they going to give up to Missouri? Because they gave up 31 on the road to Arkansas. So it's interesting to see if Missouri puts up maybe a 40-burger on them. I give Missouri a 5% shot of pulling off the upset on the road against Alabama because I think the offense can go head-to-head against I think Missouri's offense could go head-to-head against Alabama's offense for at least one half and maybe even well into the third quarter. So, and if this game was in Missouri, I will give Missouri a 15% shot at the upset, but I think Alabama will most likely beat Missouri by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Number 2, Georgia, and this is where my first disagreement is at. Clemson should be ranked number 2, people, and the reason why is because I know Georgia, probably has the most impressive win against number 24 South Carolina. And to be honest, it was an impressive win on the road. But Clemson just looks more dominant than Georgia right now. And throughout the season. Georgia's probably biggest blowout margin was against the FCS opponent. Clemson blew out an ACC opponent on the road, Wake Forest 63-3. A 60-point win. To me, Clemson should be number 2, and Georgia should be number 3, and Ohio State should be number 4. Actually, no, Ohio State should be number 5. Excuse me. And I'll get into that in a second. Yeah, but Clemson should be number 2. They get a bye week next week, so hopefully they rest up for the bye, and they'll go from there. Really, the only threat to Clemson is NC State, by the way. Number 3, Ohio State. I disagree with this. Ohio State should be number 5. Georgia should be number 3. And Notre Dame should be number 4. I think that Ohio State... here's a question for Ohio State. Yes, you have the impressive win on the road against Penn State. That is impressive. Yes. But what the hell are you doing at home letting Indiana stay in that game going into the fourth quarter? That's my question for Ohio State. What the hell are you doing? Yes, the win was in kind of blowout fashion, but those points came late for Ohio State to pull away for the blowout. Those points came late. So, all I'm saying is Ohio State, they're too high ranked. I'll put them at number 5. And then what happened, they get Minnesota at home next week. Let's see what they do against Minnesota at home. Should be an easy win. Next, number 4. Clemson, I said they should be number 2. I think Notre Dame should be number 4. Let's talk about Clemson. Clemson, they don't have really too many impressive wins. They had a fucking hell scare against Syracuse. Outside of that, their biggest win is... God, their biggest win... I don't even know what their biggest win would be. I'm trying to think who the hell they face. Damn, who the hell have they faced? Syracuse might be their biggest win. They get South Carolina out of conference late in the season. They still get Florida State. They get NC State. So, and Boston College. So, we'll see what happens. But I think Clemson should be ranked number 2. If you ask me who has the best shot of being Alabama, I will say Clemson. I think Clemson should be number 2. I think Notre Dame should be number 4, which they're ranked number 5. Let's talk about Notre Dame at number 5. They got a very impressive win on the road against Virginia Tech. They also beat Stanford and Michigan. So they have 3 impressive wins against ranked teams, Notre Dame. I will put Notre Dame over Ohio State because Ohio State in my opinion. I just really was. I really thought that Ohio State, they haven't really blown out anybody outside of like Tulane or Rutgers. They haven't really blown out anybody. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I think the top five should be Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ohio State in that order. I think it should be those five teams. I just think out of the five resumes, excluding Alabama, because I think Alabama is just the best team out of all of these teams. Alabama's best win is at home against Texas A&M. But outside of those five teams, that should be the order: Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State. I think Clemson's the second best team in college football. I think Georgia. I would say Georgia only because I think Georgia is the third best team. And out of Notre Dame and Ohio State, Notre Dame has the better resume. So that's what I would go with if I was if I was in charge of picking the top 25. Number 6, West Virginia. I disagree with them moving up 3 spots, but at this point, as an undefeated team, I mean, you really don't have a choice but to move them up to number 6. You do have maybe Texas or like probably Texas or maybe like a Michigan or somebody or like a LSU. You know, you're not just gonna move LSU down by 1 spot. But I disagree with West Virginia at number 6. I'm not sold on West Virginia. They get a game on the road against Iowa State. They should be on upset alert for that. Just to mention that. But I really think that I just think that personally, West Virginia. I like West Virginia, but their offense is too inconsistent. I'm not sold on the defense. So this week they're forced to be 6, but I will be on upset alert, especially on the road against Iowa State, a good Iowa State team that will play them tough. Let's see. Number 7, Washington. I don't understand why they moved up 3 spots. I would rather see Penn State moved up 3 spots coming off a bye week, or maybe even Texas have a big overreaction for Texas than Washington. I think Washington should be number 9, and you put Penn State and Texas above them. The win against UCLA was not impressive at all. They get a big road game on. They get a big game on the road against Oregon. Number 17 Oregon. This upcoming Saturday. If they lose that game, God, I don't think the Pac-12 is gonna have a team in college football playoffs. So the Pac-12 needs Washington to win. So we'll see what happens. I just think personally Washington should be number 9, Penn State 7, Texas 8. So I think it should go in the order as number 7 Penn State, number 8 Texas, number 9 Washington. Let's talk about Penn State. They move up 3 spots coming off a bye week. They get Michigan State at home. They should beat Michigan State at home, but you never know. Pretty good team at Penn State. I was not sold on them after week 1, but they played pretty tough against Ohio State, but they lost. I just don't see Penn State being that legit contender for the college football playoffs. I don't see them being a legit contender. I think they'll lose another game or something. Number 9 Texas, they get a big time winning against number 7 Oklahoma. The only concern I have about Texas is that they kind of gave up towards the end and had to kick a last-second field goal because they were up 45-24 in the 4th quarter in that game. They get Baylor at home next week. That should be a win, but I expect Baylor to be in that game for a half. But they moved up 10 spots from 19 to 9, and I think they should have moved up 11 spots to number 8. Next, number 10, UCF. I disagree with this. I'm happy that a group of 5 team is in the top 10, but I will put LSU at number 10. And the reason why I'll put LSU at number 10 is that their resume going on the road against Auburn and then going to a neutral site against Miami and beating them and getting wins against them, that's a more impressive resume than UCF. I'll probably put UCF at 14. I'll probably put Oklahoma, Michigan, and Florida all ahead of them. And LSU at 10, obviously. But let's talk about UCF a little bit. They're undefeated. Their best win They don't really have that good. They don't really have like that big win. Their big win might be against Pittsburgh or Georgia Tech. No, Pittsburgh. Their big win's probably against Pittsburgh. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. They beat SMU by 28. They get Memphis on the road, a big game for them because if they lose that game, all of a sudden the American East gets wide open. Number 11, Oklahoma. They only moved down 4 spots after losing to Texas by a field goal. They get a bye next week. And I called the upset. Texas was going to beat Oklahoma. I called it. Go watch my videos. I called it since the preseason. But I was really confident this week about it. And Texas almost blew it, but they got the win. And Oklahoma, they look pretty shaky. They need the bye week. They still have to go up against the majority of the Big 12. So we'll see what happens. But I'm telling you, Oklahoma is a pretty shaky team. I don't think they'll be in the college football playoffs. Number 12, Michigan. They got a good win against my Terps. They get number 15, Wisconsin at home. That's going to be a big game. We'll see what happens in that one. But, I mean, if Michigan, they win that. People are saying, oh, watch out for Michigan in 2018 this year. They can make the college football playoffs. All of a sudden, that comes true. They lost the opening game against number 5, Notre Dame. So, just a point there. Number 13, LSU, I think they moved them down too much. I think they're overreacting over that loss against number 22, Florida, on the road. I thought they should have just been moved down to number 10. And as I said earlier, 10 through 14 should be LSU, Oklahoma, Michigan, Florida, and then Central Florida, UCF. But unfortunately, it's not like that. That's how I would do it if I was in charge of making this poll. LSU is still pretty good in my opinion. I'm not really too concerned about that loss. But it did show some things about LSU. The offense is not that good for LSU. That's point number 1. Point number 2, they're a little bit vulnerable. And they get number 2 Georgia at home this upcoming week, and they could very well pull off the upset. If they pull off the upset against Georgia, LSU would be just fine in the top 10. Probably at least contending for the SEC championship. Definitely probably a New Year's Six bowl as long as they beat everybody. They should. They still get Alabama and they still get Texas A&M, and they still get the Mississippi teams. Actually no, they just get Mississippi State, and I forget who else they get, but LSU is going to be fine as long as they beat number 2 Georgia. Number 14 Florida moves up 8 spots. I thought they should have been moved up to 13 again as they get the big win against number 5 LSU. I'm going to have a video this week, by the way, of who the hell is going to be representing each division in the SEC championship, because I think both divisions are wide open. Florida got a big win. The Swamp is back. Florida is back, people. I'm willing to say Florida and Texas is back at this point. Dan Mullen knows exactly what the hell he's doing. They get to go on the road against Vanderbilt this upcoming week. That should be a win, but you never know. Number 15, Wisconsin. They beat Nebraska 41-24. Pretty good win all around for Wisconsin. They moved up 1 spot from 16 to 15. I'm fine with that. And then they get to go on the road against number 12 Michigan. And they win that game, Wisconsin. Expect them to be back in the top 10. Number 16 Miami. They squeaked by Florida State, but 28-27. That game's always a one-possession game. Whoever wins that game, by the way. They moved up 1 spot. I'm fine with them moving up 1 spot. Personally, I thought they should have stayed the same, but them moving up 1 spot in early to mid-October is not really a big deal. They get to go on the road next week against Virginia. If I'm Miami, I will be a little bit careful in that game. I wouldn't call that a sure win. Virginia's not a bad team. They're not a great team, but they're a 5-6 win team that could be hungry for an upset. Next, number 17, Oregon. They moved up 1 spot coming off their bye week. They get a game at home against number 7 Washington this upcoming week. That is a big game in the Pac-12 North and the Pac-12 altogether. Pac-12 needs Washington to win that game. I don't know who I'm picking yet for that game. I had Oregon in the preseason winning this game, but we'll see. We'll see if I change my mind on that. Right now, I'll say I'm leaning towards Oregon. I am leaning Oregon in this one, but I'm fine with them moving up one spot. Let's see what they do. Number 18 Kentucky, they moved down 5 spots. Losing to Texas A&M in overtime. I'm fine with them moving down 5 spots. Texas A&M is a pretty good team. I still think Kentucky's still a very good team. Let's see, they get a bye next week. They still have to face the teams in Tennessee and Missouri. So, and I think I think they have to face Ole Miss or somebody. Ole Miss or no. They face never mind. They still have to face the teams in Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee and Missouri, and they get Louisville. So there's 4 wins right there. I forget who else they face, but those are 4 wins right there. This team should easily be 9-3 in my opinion. To Kentucky. Number 19 Colorado, 5-0. They got a big win over Arizona State. That is the best win of the year. They move up 2 spots, and then if they go on the road and beat USC, that will even be a better win. So, big game for Colorado coming up. I have not made my decision yet for that game. I'm going to have a video of who the hell is going to represent the Pac-12 South because I don't know who the hell is going to come out of the Pac-12 South. Let's see. Number 20, NC State gets the win over Boston College. They move up 3 spots. They get a pretty good win. They go into a bye week this week. I suppose they should move up 3 spots because 22 through 25 are all new teams to the rankings this week. I just think. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'll save that for my NFL video. But NC State, NC State, they're probably the biggest threat to Clemson at this point. So we'll see what happens. But they go into the bye. Auburn, they move down 13 spots as they lose on the road to Mississippi State 23-9. I was calling for that upset. I was calling for this upset. I knew Auburn was going to lose. Auburn, Gus Malzahn's on the hot seat in my opinion. He has to be on the hot seat. There were 2 losses on the SEC against LSU and Mississippi State. I mean, you lost 2 games in the SEC West. I'm trying to remember who the hell you guys beat in the you beat Arkansas. So you beat Arkansas at home, which is like a given, and then you lose to 2 teams. One on the Mississippi State on the road, granted, and then LSU at home. You should have won one of those 2 games. So we'll see what happens with Auburn. They get a game against Tennessee at home. That should be a win, but you never know. Now the last 4 teams are new teams to the top 25. Texas A&M. They were in the rankings earlier this year. Actually, number 22 against Alabama before they lost. They beat Kentucky at home in overtime. Number 13 Kentucky. They get a game on the road against South Carolina. Haven't picked that game yet. That's gonna be a fun game to watch. Number 23 South Florida, first time in the rankings this year. They got a road on the road against UMass, 58-42. They also beat Georgia Tech this year, as well. That's probably the best win. They get to go on the road against Tulsa on a Friday night. That's going to be an interesting game there. And we're going to see what happens. I give Tulsa like a 15% shot in that game. And then Mississippi State, they get in the rankings again at number 24. They got the win against number 8 Auburn. They get a bye week. They had a good win. They were in the rankings earlier. Before they were 14 before Kentucky beat them at home 28-7. And then number 25, first time in a while, Cincinnati gets in the rankings at 6-0. They've been very under the radar. They beat Tulane 37-21. They go into a bye week, and not a bad Tulane team either. That's probably the best win of the year though. I want to see this team play Central Florida and South Florida before we really said they are legit. So teams that dropped out of the rankings: Stanford after a embarrassing loss against Utah. Michigan State after a embarrassing loss on homecoming against Northwestern. Virginia Tech after losing to Notre Dame, and Oklahoma State after losing to Iowa State. Teams that received votes: Iowa received 87 votes. This is what I said at the beginning in the video. I said I think they get the right 25 teams in the pool this week, but I do think Iowa and South Florida that is a debate in my opinion. Iowa and South Florida. But I think South Florida is a better it's better than the Iowa, on the mindset that Iowa has a loss at home against Wisconsin. I'll probably put South Florida at 25, Cincinnati at 24, and Mississippi State at 23 though. Stanford got 59 votes. They'll be back in the rankings at some point this year. Stanford. Washington State's been a little bit under the radar at 46 votes. They had a pretty good offensive showing against Oregon State. They also had a pretty impressive win against Wyoming. I need to see Washington State, though, face real competition. San Diego State received 24 votes after going on the road and upsetting Boise State. Pretty impressive win there. They look like the team to beat in the Mountain West at this point. TCU received 20 votes. I forget. I think they were on a bye, TCU. They get it's either a Thursday or a Friday night game. I think against Oklahoma State or Texas Tech, or one of these two teams. Or was it somebody? Yeah, it's against one of those unranked teams. That should be a win for them at home, but I mean, TCU could get back in the rankings this year. Appalachian State looks like the team to beat in the Sun Belt. They got 11 votes. Pretty good team out there in Boone, North Carolina, Appalachian State. Utah State received 9 votes. They're pretty good. I still give the edge to San Diego State in the Mountain West, but they're probably representing the Mountain Division in that conference at this point. Utah got 5 votes after a very impressive win against Stanford. I know Bryce Love was out, but that was still an impressive win for Utah going on the road and pulling off that big-time upset. We'll see what they do in the Pac-12 South. South Carolina received 2 votes. They get a game against number 22 Texas A&M. They could be back in the rankings at this point, but they're going to have to win some games. And Hawaii received 1 vote after squeaking by Wyoming. So, and I don't think Hawaii is going to be legit in the Mountain West. I give the edge to San Diego State and Fresno State before Hawaii. So, that's my reaction to the AP Top 25. I think they have the top 5 completely wrong between 2 and 5. And I think they have 10 through 14 kind of wrong too. And I will probably put South Florida at 25 and have Mississippi State at 23, and Cincinnati at 24. So that's my reaction to the top 25. Comment down below. Tell me what you think about the top 25. I'm going to have my top 25 down below. So go check that out. Give me your top 25. And also please like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. And this is McD the Beast signing off.